The Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion Remastered is out, and I think it will be fun to check out how it performs at various resolutions on the RTX 5080. We will be testing the Ultrawide 3440 by 1440p, as well as 4K and 1440p resolutions. This game looks quite nice by modern standards, and it features ray tracing, which will be fun to test. Is the 5080 powerful enough to handle ray tracing in this game? Let's find out. To test this, I'm using the MSI Supreme SoC version of the RTX 5080, paired with the Ryzen 7 9800X3D CPU as part of the Be Quiet PC build powered by MSI. And we'll be experiencing the games today on a variety of MSI QD OLED monitors. I'll list them in the description below, and if you are interested in any of the products featured in this video, you can find them on Amazon at the links in the description below. Let's start with the Ultrawide 3440 by 1440p experience. We are using the absolute maximum graphics quality preset, Ultra, and hardware ray tracing is enabled and maxed out as well. DLSS is using native resolution, so that's DLAA, but we'll take a look at resolution upscaling as well. Frame generation is off for now. And yeah, this game features FSR 3 as well as CSS, which is nice to see. But what is not nice is that it doesn't have ray reconstruction, which is kind of a big deal because those ray tracing effects, they can get quite noisy, especially when we're looking at reflections. And it's quite unfortunate that this game doesn't feature DLSS ray reconstruction. Everyone loves the Oblivion character creator, and yeah, I've crafted myself a beautiful high elf. Say hello to Wonky Winklebrow. Such a beautiful young man with perfect triangle face. He will be helping us stop the Oblivion crisis. Alright, coming back to the ray reconstruction feature that is missing from here. Yeah, as long as you are looking at some reflections, you can definitely notice the difference that while the reflections, they do look okay, there is quite a bit of noise in those reflections. Adding ray reconstruction could have eliminated that noise and made this game look much more beautiful than it already is. By the way, there is pretty much no difference in terms of performance between using first-person view and third-person view. There is just like a couple of FPS difference. So it's not a huge deal. And for some reason, if we choose the widest third-person view, the performance is actually getting better. So this is like okay performance, slightly worse, and then the best performance for some reason, even though a lot more stuff is displayed on the screen. Interesting how that works, huh? This game looks pretty good at native resolution, but even resolution upscaling is not too bad because it features DLSS. I definitely want to see more than 60 FPS in this game, especially on the ultra-wide monitor. Because even in other scenes, we're still not getting anywhere close to 60 FPS consistent gameplay, so it's not feeling nice, it's not feeling smooth. Let's go ahead and enable DLSS resolution upscaling. We'll set it to quality mode to begin with. Right, now we are actually getting a consistent 60 plus FPS experience, sometimes reaching into high 70s. And the image, it looks fine. Not fantastic, but fine. There are a lot of fine details in this particular scene. There's a lot of grass, a lot of foliage, so it's very difficult for any anti-aliasing solution to handle all of this, let alone resolution upscaling. So yeah, the game still looks pretty good, especially if we are looking the character or any other objects that are not as heavily aliased, then it looks fine. And the performance is pretty good. Smooth experience. Oh, there was a stutter there, so maybe maybe there are some stutters every now and then. Hopefully the game developers will continue optimizing the game over the next coming weeks and months. That would be nice. By the way, the game shipped with DLSS 3, but we can actually override it to use DLSS 4. And that's what I want to do right now, because I'm really curious to see, will the image quality be much better with DLSS 4? Let's find out. We can override it in the NVIDIA app. Let's just go to Settings, and then scroll down. Where is it? There we go. DLSS override model, latest. Let's go. Interesting. The static image actually feels a little cleaner. Okay. But there are still some issues around the edges of the character as we pan the camera. Yeah, that is just something that DLSS 4 unfortunately could not resolve. That is just normal stuff for DLSS. So it actually feels better playing this game in first-person mode if you don't want to look at those visual imperfections around the character. But the performance is actually okay. You know, DLSS 4 is consuming a little bit more resources than DLSS 3, but we're still getting well above 60 FPS, which is nice. And the image is a little bit crisper, not as soft, especially in such a foliage-dense scene. It really makes a difference. I think DLSS 4 override is the way to go, so let's keep it on. There is a little bit of stuttering going on in this game, so it's not perfect, like 0.9% over here. And we've seen that on the frame rate graph over there. It's not perfect, but at least we can enjoy the game properly using the RTX 5080 maxed out graphics with DLSS set to quality mode. Let's move to a different location, shall we? Let's go to the Imperial City Market District. The performance is a little bit better in the town area over here. 80 plus. Not bad, not bad. Just to let those 1% lows normalize a little bit. There we go. 1% lows are in the 70s. And we're using just above 8 gigabytes of memory, 8.5 gigabytes to be precise, using this graphics configuration. I wonder, can we get rid of those stutters if we cap FPS at 60? Let's do that. And oh, there we go. It worked. Yes, the frame rate is much smoother now. And will there be any dips below 60? Let's see. No. The performance appears to be nice and smooth. Even in a different location, we're still getting quite a smooth experience, although now we are seeing those dips every now and then, so yeah. I think we need at least like 90 FPS and then cap it at 60 to get rid of those stutters. Although stutters as big as that one, I don't think it will be possible to get rid of those completely, unless the game developers will actually optimize the shaders even further. It's something that pretty much every Unreal Engine 5 game suffers from. I'm not a big fan of Unreal Engine 5 at this point, because stuttering is like the least favorite thing of mine. Let's see how frame generation works in this game. Let's enable that. Ignore the 1% loads, they are not reported correctly when frame generation is enabled. In terms of image fluidity, this feels good, well above 100 FPS. Very nice indeed. And in terms of image quality, it's fine. I mean, I prefer playing without frame generation in games like this one, because there's just so many fine objects, such as grass and leaves. Frame generation is introducing a little bit of a blur, so when you're moving around, everything will get a little bit blurred, like motion blur kind of thing. If you don't mind that, then you can trade that for better image fluidity. But if you want to see everything clearly, even in motion, then the frame generation feature is not for you. Let's turn off frame generation and try one more thing. I want to see the performance difference using various ray tracing presets. For example, right now with maxed out ray tracing preset, we're getting 67 FPS over here. But if we lower that to high, let's see what happens. I reloaded the game, and it turns out that there is no huge difference between the ultra ray tracing and high ray tracing. It's pretty much the same. Maybe in some other scenes we will see a performance difference, but not in this one. What if we lower the overall graphics quality preset to high? Will that give us more FPS? Let's find out. Oh yes, that actually gave us quite a nice performance boost. Take a look at that. We went from 65 to 67 FPS to 91. This is quite significant. Yeah. And the game still looks beautiful. So there is no problem with using the high graphics quality preset. The game still looks good. What if we turn off resolution upscaling now and go back to native resolution? Is the lower graphics quality preset enough to give us that beautiful native 60 plus FPS experience? Yeah, it appears so. 60 plus FPS over here, 70 plus over here, and even inside of the Imperial City, we're still getting well above 60 FPS. Nice. So we can actually get a pretty good native experience at the ultra-wide resolution. All we have to do is just lower the graphics quality to high, and voila, there we go. Beautiful native resolution experience. Let's move on to the 4K experience. This is a 240Hz QD OLED MSI 272URX monitor, perfect for 4K gaming. Let's start at native 4K resolution using the high graphics quality preset, and ray tracing is enabled and set to high as well. The image quality at native 4K resolution looks very nice indeed. Nice and crisp. But the performance is not quite there. We're nowhere close to the 60 FPS experience. Nah. This is not good enough, so we'll just have to use resolution upscaling. Let's go ahead and enable DLSS Quality mode. This is much better. Now we're getting a consistent 60 plus FPS experience. Over 70 FPS to be precise in this particular scene. Very nice indeed. Personally, I don't mind using DLSS Quality mode, especially at 4K resolution, because to my eyes it looks pretty much the same as the native DLAA resolution. Yeah, It's just free performance, in my opinion. I wonder, will we be able to maintain that 60 plus FPS using DLSS quality mode if we increase the graphics quality back to Ultra? And let's see, ray tracing Ultra as well. Not quite. It's a 50 plus FPS experience, not 60 plus. Although in some scenes we do get 60-ish FPS, nah, this is not good enough for a high-end experience, especially on a 4K monitor. So we'll have to use DLSS Balanced. Even that is not quite enough to provide a consistent 60 plus FPS experience, because we are getting dips below 60 in certain scenes, like this one here, 57, 56 FPS. I just fear that along the line there will be even more demanding levels in the game, and the FPS will just drop way below that. Ideally, I want to see 60 plus FPS at all times. 70 plus would be perfect. Which means that if we don't want to use the high graphics quality preset instead of Ultra, then we have to lower that resolution upscaling even further. Let's select the Performance mode. This is better. Now we're getting close to 70 FPS. Yeah. In terms of performance, this is quite good. But in terms of the overall experience, not quite. Because the image quality on the screen is not as crisp and sharp as it used to be using DLSS Balanced as well as DLSS Quality modes, while with the arrival of DLSS 4, the Performance mode looks quite good. In comparison to DLSS 4 Quality and Balanced, not quite. You're still missing out. The image is looking softer, and when it comes to visual imperfections that are present around the edges of the character, yeah, they are amplified as well because DLSS has fewer pixels to work with, which in turn results in amplified visual imperfections. Even the reflections look much grainier because there's more noise in them. So far, my preferred graphics configuration is this. Graphics quality preset high, DLSS quality mode. That gives us a nice high quality image as well as high FPS. Above 70 actually. I think that this is the way to go. The Ultra Graphics Quality preset is definitely nice to have, nice to experience, especially if you have a high-end GPU such as the RTX 5080. But as you can see, it's a trade-off. You either have to use a much more aggressive resolution upscaling mode, such as DLSS Performance, or lower the graphics settings a little bit. I prefer the latter. This is a much more pleasant experience overall. Furthermore, we can always slap some frame generation on top of this to improve image fluidity. That gives us a nice 120 plus FPS experience. If you have a high refresh rate monitor, then it's definitely worth checking it out. This looks quite good. And because we are running at a pretty high resolution, all those issues that were present in lower resolutions are gone, such as like increased motion blur. Yeah, now I'm running around and the grass looks okay. Of course, if we'll use a slow motion camera and start examining individual frames, then we'll probably spot some imperfections that are quite horrible, introduced by the frame generation, but to the naked eye, it feels nice. I don't see any issues so far. In a different location, the experience is quite similar. everything still looks good. Yeah, this is pretty nice. Actually, the FPS is a little bit higher in this particular area, the market in the Imperial City. Okay. It turns out that my brightness settings were quite a bit off. Yeah. At the beginning of the game, I actually set the brightness correctly, but then, for some reason, I don't know, something happened, but now it's fixed, and I can see everything now. Whereas previously, the shadows were a little bit too excessive, all the characters were looking quite dark. Lastly, let's check out the 1440p experience. I switched to the 360Hz QD OLED MSI 271QRX monitor. Let's take a look. We are at 1440p resolution using the maximum graphics quality preset, Ultra. Hardware RT is enabled and set to Ultra as well. And we are at native resolution using NVIDIA's DLAA. It's quite disappointing, but it appears that we cannot have a 60 plus FPS experience with maxed out graphics. Also, hold on, let me just check the brightness real quick, because it doesn't feel right again. Maybe -3 will do the job. Oh my god. The brightness in this game feels a little bit busted. Alright, let's go ahead and continue our tests. In some scenes we do get 60 plus FPS, but not in all, which isn't nice. And it means that if we want to use the maximum graphics quality preset, then unfortunately we do have to use resolution upscaling. Oh, look at that, the game is not without its imperfections. There are some issues with textures sticking out like that. Okay. Right, let's enable DLSS Quality mode. The game still looks fine using DLSS Quality mode at 1440p on the 27-inch monitor. And now we're getting well above 60 FPS, sometimes reaching 80 plus. Nice. This is a pretty fluid gaming experience, and we don't really need any frame generation over here, but we could actually check it out, because why not? It's a feature, it's available. Let's check it. Wow, actually, this feels nice. 140 plus FPS. The image fluidity is off the charts. If you haven't experienced it yet, I highly recommend it. Unfortunately, the only way you can get this kind of high FPS in the latest single-player games that are GPU demanding is by using frame generation, if you want a high refresh rate experience. Although one might argue that this is like a pseudo high refresh rate experience, it still feels nice, because if you have well above 60 FPS to begin with, and then you slap frame generation on top of that, the control's responsiveness is still quite high. I mean, I don't feel any difference between just playing this game at 90 plus FPS or with frame generation enabled. It still feels responsive as I pan the camera using the mouse. Very nice. Oh, this is a tough foe. Let's go. We're eating crab tonight. Why does it have a lockpick on it? A crab with a lockpick. Next, let's try a different configuration. Let's set the graphics quality to high, resolution to native, and frame generation disabled. If you want a native 1440p resolution experience at 60 plus FPS, then this is the settings configuration for you. Yeah. By the way, hardware ray tracing is still enabled and set to ultra. There is no reason to lower it to high because it doesn't offer any significant performance uplifts. Not bad at all, but what do you think? Maybe we can get a consistent 90 plus FPS if we use DLSS resolution upscaling? Let's see. DLSS Quality enabled. Oh yes, very nice indeed. 100 plus FPS in some scenes, 90 plus in other scenes. Not bad at all. We could just limit the FPS at 90 for a smoother experience. Although now I see that... Hold on. Is that a CPU bottleneck I'm witnessing? Take a look at that. The GPU load is not maxed out, and the CPU load is quite high, sometimes reaching above 60. It appears that we are hitting a limit of what this game's engine can do. Interesting, interesting. But what if we slap frame generation on top of this? Oh my! 170 plus to 160 plus in some scenes. This is quite a fluid experience. Very nice indeed if you have a high refresh rate monitor, like I do over here. Unfortunately, there is no way to saturate the entire 360 Hz that this monitor has to offer. You can count on a same kind of experience in other locations as well. Take a look at that, 160 plus, 150 plus. Let's turn off frame generation and take a look at the performance in this location. Yeah, still 90 to 100 plus FPS. So what we could do is just limit our FPS at 90 for a smoother experience. Check it out. 90 flat. But there will be dips because this game has stutters. Unreal Engine 5, man. A stuttery engine. And unfortunately, many more games are going to use it over the next years. The Witcher 4 is using it, and I'm not happy about it because I just hate stutters more than anything else. In conclusion, the RTX 5080 managed to deliver a pretty good experience in the Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion Remastered, but unfortunately we had to use resolution upscaling to achieve a good, smooth experience at native resolutions. Alternatively, we had to lower the overall graphics quality from ultra down to high to get a playable experience at native resolutions. It's not a huge deal, but when you're spending over $1,000 on a high-end GPU, an 80-class GPU, yeah, maybe it's not something to be celebrated, right? Anyway, you can still have a good time on the RTX 5080 in the Oblivion Remaster, and that is what matters the most. Let me know in the comments below, what do you think about this performance out of the RTX 5080 in this game? And if you enjoyed the video and found it helpful, then reward my work with a like. Also, subscribe for more if you haven't already. Furthermore, if you are interested in any of the products featured in this video, you can find them on Amazon at the links in the description below. It was I, Vadim. Until next time.